Thank you. Could I ask Cheryl to call for the sediment and intimate any apologies, please?
Thanks, Chair. I'll just run through the sediment if you can indicate your attendance, please. Councillor Graham Barton,
Yeah, thanks.
Councillor John McGee,
Yeah.
Councillor Ellen Friel,
I'm here, Cheryl. Thank
Councillor Elaine Cowan.
Here.
Councillor Maureen Mackay. Don't see her. Councillor Peter Maben.
Present, thank you.
Councillor Claire Maitland.
Here.
Got apologies from Councillor Linda Maben. Councillor William Lennox.
Morning, here.
Got apologies from Councillor Billy Crawford. Councillor Neil Watts.
Morning, Cheryl, I'm here.
Got apologies from Councillor Drew Filson and Councillor Jennifer Hogg.
Yep, good morning, I'm here.
Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Cheryl. Members, we're going to move on to item 1 on the agenda, and that's declarations of interest. I don't see any in the room or online, so I think we're okay with that one. Going to move on to item 2 on the agenda, and that is planning application number 23/0001/S36. It's a consultation under Section 36 of the Electricity Act 1989 for a new wind farm at Log Wind Farm between Casfairn and Sanker by WSP Global. And I'm going to hand over to David Wilson to take us through that presentation.
Thanks, Chair. Morning, members. The purpose of this report is to present a consultation under Section 36 of the Electricity Act for consideration by the Planning Committee. The application site is located on upland moorland to the south of Afton Reservoir, south of New Cumnock and extending into Dumfries and Galloway. The development initially comprised of 15 turbines, including turbines within East Ayrshire. However, the applicant has modified their proposals and it now comprises of 10 turbines and associated infrastructure. Within East Ayrshire, the development now only comprises of a section of access track, a borrow pit and a temporary compound, all as set out at paragraphs 3 to 10 of the papers. Consultation responses to the Council are set out at paragraphs 10 to 21, noting that no consultee has raised an objection, subject to use of appropriate conditions to control various matters. Consultation responses sent to the Scottish Government are set out at paragraphs 23 to 41, and representations from third parties, which are directed to the Scottish Government, and the numbers and reasons for objection are summarised at paragraphs 42 to 43 of the papers. Prior to moving on to the assessment, I'll share some details just for some visual context, if you bear with me. So the first slide here is just the site location and context. You'll note that the local authority boundary is the black line and the application site is the brown coloured outline, so right at the southern part of the district. And it's the application location plan in a bit more detail. That shows the Afton Road just in the northern section here. So this is the southern part of Afton Road. You see Afton Wind Farm and Afton Reservoir here. This slide shows the first proposed layout and the amended layout beneath. You'll note that the turbines in the western area, which are these here, where at my cursor, which were within and just in the boundary of East Ayrshire, have been removed, and the one below. This is the proposed layout, noting the track, the borrow pit and the compound within East Ayrshire, which is the western section, and the remainder of development in the eastern part of the site in Dumfries and Galloway, which includes the main wind farm infrastructure. A slide is more detailed look just at the western section, which is the East Ayrshire area. So you see the track which comes from the Afton wind farm. So there's existing tracks just to the north of the application site. They start constructing just at the edge of the red line site there and work their way down through the proposed borrow pit to help facilitate that before the access track leaves the district and goes into Dumfries and Galloway to head towards the remainder of the site. This slide is just the comparative zone of theoretical visibility map. This is the the theoretical turbine visibility of the scheme. So the green colour is the scheme as currently proposed, and you'll note though that there's blue areas. That was the visibility where it was the larger 15 turbine scheme before they deleted the turbines. So it is relevant to note that large swathes of East Ayrshire to the north of the site have been taken out of visibility as a result of the turbines being dropped. Just for context, this slide is the abnormal load route from Glasgow. They have two proposed ports, Glasgow and Ayr. So this is the route from Glasgow. So essentially heading down the 77, the A76, and then onto the Afton Road, and then up through the Afton Wind Farm to the site. And likewise for the Port of Ayr on the A77, and then the same route from the 76 down. All abnormal loads would be delivered through the East Ayrshire part of the development, and approximately 25% of the normal construction traffic would access from East Ayrshire. The remaining balance would be from the Dumfries and Galloway side. The applicant has given us details of those vehicle movements, but that's a worst case scenario, and they're hoping that with the borrow pits being there, that vehicle movements will be relatively limited because all the stones should be sourced on site. The final slide is just the cumulative wind farm map, which we usually show just to show the context of what's going on round about in East Ayrshire. Just down in that area, you show that the Afton wind farm is shown as operational, which is this site here. And just slightly north of that is the Penclow site, and that site is currently under construction and will be expected to be completed sometime towards the end of next year. So the two main sites within the Afton Road area should essentially be complete by the time the Lorg wind farm would potentially be constructing. Bear with me, I'll just stop sharing, complete this. So just turning now to the assessment. The key matters of interest are set out from paragraphs 50 to 97, noting that there's strong in principle support for such developments, and that's gained from national and local policies. Planning consent for a similar development was previously granted by the council, although wasn't implemented. No unacceptable landscape and visual impacts are anticipated, with the main impacts of the development in East Ayrshire removed when the westernmost turbines were deleted. There's no unacceptable impacts on the natural environment, soils, the water environment, archaeology or heritage, subject to planning conditions. Traffic and transport presents no unacceptable impact. The abnormal loads and 25% of general construction traffic will access via Afton Road and the existing Afton wind farm to reach the site. Improvement works were already undertaken on the Afton Road for the Afton wind farm, and they remain in place, and this development would be able to take advantage of those works as well. Works would be controlled by a construction traffic management plan to manage potential impacts on the road and neighbouring properties to the road. And with the removal of Afton and Penclow wind farms from the potential cumulative construction scenarios, no particular cumulative construction traffic impacts are envisaged. As noted within the conclusions at paragraph 98, subject to the imposition of planning conditions in a legal agreement, the development is considered to be compliant with the development plan, and other material considerations are generally supportive of the development. Legal and financial risk implications are set out at paragraph 99 to 104, noting that the applicant would be expected to enter into a legal agreement with the council to secure a planning monitoring officer and a financial guarantee, and the applicant has agreed to this in principle. It is noted that should the council raise an objection to the development, this would likely trigger a public local inquiry, and participation in such a process would be necessary. Finally, matters for which detailed condition wording will require to be agreed are set out in pages 19 to 21. Thank you.
Thanks, David. Members are now going to open up for any comments, questions. Yep. We're going to take Councillor Friel and then Councillor Lennox. Thanks.
David, has Dumfries and Galloway accepted their proposal? They're part of the proposal.
They've not responded yet. We are the first of the two councils to come back, so we're still awaiting their position on it.
Okay,
Just for awareness, they did consent a previous wind farm in this location, similar to how we consented the access track previously under a planning application. It's a similar application this time, albeit with bigger turbines. So if it's any direction of travel, they would have to take account of what they've done before as well. So they haven't responded yet, but they previously have consented a wind farm in that location.
David. Councillor Lennox.
Thanks, Chair. Morning, folks. Apologies for not having my camera on. Bandwidth issues this morning, so hopefully the audio is a bit clearer. Just in relation to the traffic management plan, David, could you confirm that the movements of the several sections of the wind turbines is going to be done out with peak hours and preferably overnight, because they do bring parts of the A76, I'm thinking specifically Mauchline, to a standstill when they're coming down through, because we have witnessed that recently.
I'll maybe give some comments and also maybe ask Barry to come in as well, just from ARA's perspective. But my understanding is the abnormal load movements are pretty much dictated by the police and their availability and when they are able to facilitate the movement. So it's something we generally don't have much control over, albeit my understanding is they usually attempt to target the movements at the times where there's less traffic, so it is night time and so on. But I believe we're largely in the hands of the police on that control. I don't know if Barry's maybe anything to add to that.
No, David, I've nothing additional to add to that. I think as stated in the recommendations that the movements are limited to 7 in the morning to 7 at night, Monday to Friday, and 7 in the morning to 1 o'clock on a Saturday. But as David says, over and above that, I don't think we have any other say in the matter other than to take advice for the police.
Just to clarify, those construction traffic timings are just for the ordinary HGVs and wind farm construction traffic. The abnormal loads are excluded from that because ordinarily they are undertaken at times out with the normal working day. So abnormal loads are excluded, and I would just reiterate, I think it is the police that drives very much the timetable for that.
That's great. Thanks for that clarity. Cheers.
I'm going to bring in Councillor Cowan.
Thank you, Chair. It's actually just a follow-up on that point for my information. So how do we open a dialogue with the police to raise the concerns that Councillor Lennox has highlighted, especially round about the Mauchline area? And we know, that's quite a road that we've had incidents in recently. So anything we can do there to escalate that to the right partners to alleviate any issues, I'd be interested to know how we start that dialogue.
We can potentially add to the consultation response that that's a noted issue and ask the developer and the consents unit to keep that in mind when they're taking it forward. I don't think we've got specific rights to control that for definite, because we know it's largely out with our hands about the other organisations involved, but we can at least flag that up as a concern. So I'm happy to take that forward and raise that as part of our submission to the consents unit and to make the developer aware so that they can liaise with the police as well as much as possible.
I don't see any further questions online or in the room. So members, the recommendations in page 3 of papers, paragraph 2, are you happy to approve that? Plus, David, are you going to pen a note to encapsulate the conversation we've just had?
Yeah, I can do that. Essentially, it would just be added to our consultation response for awareness. We send the full committee report as our consultation response, but as part of the cover email, we can just make that aware that that was a concern of committee and that that's something that should be taken into account as the developer formulates their plans going forward.
Members, are you happy to approve on that basis? Okay, I think that's unanimous. Yep. And I see Councillor Lennox thumbs up online. Thank you very much. Okay, members, we're going to move on to item 3 in the agenda, and that is planning application number 23/0089/AMCPP. And this is discharge of condition 6, which is restoration and aftercare of planning consent 19/0262/PP. New hard rock quarry at land at Dareduff Hill, C7, Dunlop, Neilston, from A735 near Dunlop to East Renfrewshire boundary. It's Dunlop, East Ayrshire. I'm going to ask Barry Douglas to take us through that presentation. I'm going to ask Madeline to take us through that presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So the report in front of you presents for determination an application to discharge condition 6 of 19/0262/PP for New Hard Rock Quarry at Deerduff Hill. This location plan here indicates the site outlined in red. It's approximately 4.5 kilometres northeast of Dunlop and 3.5 kilometres east of Lugton, just on the boundary with East Wren. Condition 6 sought the submission of a comprehensive restoration plan and 5-year aftercare scheme, with paragraphs 1 to 9 of the condition specifying the information to be included in this plan. In order to discharge the condition, the developer has submitted a landscape and biodiversity restoration and management plan. Here we can see the final concept design for the site following the end of operations and restoration. The plan proposes that restoration of the quarry will be carried out in a phased approach, which ties in with the 3 working phases of the quarry. So this will involve backfilling of quarry voids, reprofiling of land and seeding with an acid grassland mix. Following the completion of the final phase of works at the quarry, the final void will be filled and benched rock faces restored, although some exposed faces will be left as landscape features. Once quarry works cease at the site, they will be followed by a 5-year aftercare period, and the aim is for the site to be used for nature conservation and agricultural purposes. The Landscape and Biodiversity Management Plan is considered to meet the requirements for Condition 6, and it's recommended that the Council approve the discharge of the condition. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madeline. Members, any comment, questions? No. So we're happy to approve the recommendation on page 23, paragraph 2. Okay. Yep, unanimously agreed. So thank you very much. I think that concludes today's business. Thanks for your attendance.